Hey guys, so today we're going to be overclocking some Samsung B die. We got just one stick, single rank this time. It's rated 2133 mega transfers. See how high we can get it. So as you can see, we're running a i5 11400 11th gen. Uh, everything's stock, base clock stock. We're running 2133. That's what it's rated for. 8 gig stick on a Z590M Phantom Gaming. We got our voltage at 1.2. And we're running at JDEC specification, so 1515, 1536. Alright, so here's our initial benchmarks. We got 16,326 read, 79.5 latency, 10,282 at write, and 12,730 copy. So now we're going to try to post this at 2400. We changed the gear mode to gear 1 and command rate to command rate 1, but we've left the voltages the same. All the timings are on auto. We'll see what it does. So we posted 2400 very easily, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip right to 2666. See if it'll post that reliably. We're not going to go into Windows just yet. And as you can see, we made it up to 2666. So again, it didn't even break a sweat. So we're just going to keep pushing it a little higher. See if we'll just skip to 2933. See if it'll post that. So just to show, DRAM voltage is still at 1.2 volts. And we're posted at 2933. It's hard to see. Oh yeah, there you go. Gear 1, base clock 100. The timings are a little crap, 21:49, but we'll see how reliably we can get into Windows. So now we're just running a little bit of a mem test, see how stable it is, and then we won't let this go very long. We'll just go to like 5 or 10%, and then after that we'll go back into the BIOS and then keep overclocking it. We can see our RAM voltage is at 1.192, set to 1.2, but that's how it is. So now that we checked out everything, it's all nice and stable. So now this time we're going to boot 3200, see if it can do 3200 at 1.2 volts. So now we posted at 3200 megahertz. It looks like we're running a JDEC timings. We got RFC at 560 and so on. Nothing special here. So now we're just going to push it a little further, 3466, see what happens there. Again, we're just going to push it until it stops posting and then bring it back one and see what happens. And now we posted at 3466. So we're going to try 3733. Again, timings are completely horrible, but we'll work on that later. Right now we're just trying to see how far it'll go without any voltage boost. So I'm sure, as you can tell from the RAM frequency, we posted in safety mode, which means 3733 was too much. So now we lowered the base clock to 97.5. See if we can bring this bin a little lower, and then we'll post it there. Again, I have not touched the voltage yet. I will do that very shortly. So here's our benchmark results for 3639 megahertz. We got 27,117 read, 63.9 latency, 17,483 write, and 20,207 copy. Again, this is just single channel. We're not running more than one RAM stick in here right now. We're going to do a quick passive mem test. It's probably unnecessary because I could just add more voltage, but we're going to do it anyway. So after playing around with some of the timings, the gear modes, and the command rate and all that, I was not able to get it to 3733. So what I had to do was finally raise the voltage to about 1.3 volts. And then it was finally able to post easily at 3733. So, and we're doing a round of mem test, and it doesn't look like it's particularly stable. Looks like we're getting a lot of copy errors. So, might be able to fix that with some timing adjustments. So it looks like 3733 was actually a lucky post, and it required 1.3 volts to sometimes post it, so I'm going to up it to 1.35. Anything higher than this just required stupid amounts of voltage, and I didn't want to give it that much. So because anything more than 1.5 volts is a little too much for just another 100 megahertz. So looks like this is close to the limit. So I wasn't able to fully stabilize 3733, so I just brought it down a bit to 3639 as we had it before. And now I'm just going to begin tightening the timings until I need more voltage to do so. So we're at 26 right now. We're going to go down to 22, see if that works. So I brought the timings down to 19, and we got it to post. So I'm going to try 18, because 18 didn't work before, but I tried 18 on both, so now I'm just going to try 18 on CAS, see if that posts. Then again, we haven't messed with the voltage anymore. It's just set back down to 1.2 volts. We'll see how it goes. So it looks like the opposite of what I just did seemed to work. Having CAS at 19 and TCRD and TRP at 18 seemed to do the trick. So now we're going to see if we can get into Windows. So here's our score at 3639, CL19, 19, 19, 43. Our reads 27,225. Our writes is 17,603. Our copies 21,044. Our latency is 55.4. And the other numbers as well. You can see, again, it's just a single stick of RAM. Nothing special going on here. And this is how it compares to the previous ones. 2133 was a 16,000, 10,000, 12,000, and 79.5. And these latter two are relatively comparable, other than latency. Latency is much better with just slightly tightened timings. And now the journey begins. We set RAM voltage to 1.25 volts instead of 1.2. We're gonna push these down to 18. See if that works. If not, we'll give it some more voltage. Again, we're just focusing on primary timings. We haven't begun working on secondary timings just yet. So with TRAS, what works with me is usually I just take these two numbers and double them pretty much, or add them together, and then that's what I get for TRAS. And it's usually a plus or minus, but it's always a relatively close around to that. But anyway, so we didn't post at CL17 or TRP and TRCD of 17, so now we're gonna increase the voltage to 1.3 volts. I'll probably stop around 1.35 volts, and then after that I'll start working on the other timings. And it looks like we got it to post anyway. Booting into Windows is a little different, but so yeah, just because we boot into BIOS doesn't necessarily mean that it's stable enough to get into Windows. So we'll give it a little more voltage. We'll aim for 1.35 for now. Don't want to get too crazy just yet. See if that works. So it looks like I can't seem to get this stable at a reasonable voltage. It's at 1.4 volts. Looks like I'm getting a lot of errors here. But at least it didn't crash instantly this time, so I'm getting closer. We're running CL17, TCRD 18, TRP 18, and RAS of 36. So after extensive testing, it looks like it only could do CL19 and at 1.35 volts. So we're running the stress test right now. It's quite a bit less impressive than I was expecting, but oh well. It's what happens when you get random B-die. And when you're stress testing your RAM, you always want to put a fan to it. I rigged a ghetto duct tape fan with a 12,000 RPM. I'm running it off a little generator here. Let's see, how long this fan will last at this RPM. I haven't oiled it yet, so we'll see. Looks like we managed to at least get one pass out of it at that speed. So looks relatively stable. I'd have to run it a whole night in order to determine how stable it really is, but it's good enough for our purposes right now. So before we go about overclocking these or tightening these lesser timings, we should reduce this to as low as we can. At least the word of advice says that we should set this as low as possible before we start messing around with these timings. So it looks like my motherboard won't allow me to bring it lower than 4, so we'll do 4. Plus, in my experience, the last kit I overclocked, I tightened these as much as they could go, and then I adjusted this to a lower value, and then after that these were able to go tighter. So I guess it must be true that you have to set this one first. So we'll go ahead and do that, see if it posts. So now first order of business is to lower TRFC. 637 is a terrible number, so we're going to bring it down to 600, see if it posts that. So it looks like we posted 600, so now I'm going to bring it down to 575. Let's see if that posts. So before setting TCKE down to 4, it was set to 8, and I was not able to bring TRFC down to anything below like 550. And then once I set it to 4, now I'm able to bring TRFC down to 450. It didn't post at 425, so this is about as good as it's going to get, I guess, for now. But we're stress testing right now. I don't have my noisy fan turned on just yet. So now that we have dialed in TRFC at 450, I'm just going to drop all these other timings by 2. And then we'll see if it boots. Normally I would do these one by one and test every single one of them, but I want to get through this a lot quicker. This could be a lot lower, actually. 16. All right. So we dropped all our sub timings by 2, except for T-Fall, which I dropped by 12. And they're at least 10% stable. And now we're going to run the benchmark, see what kind of results we get. So this is our results this time around. 28,197 read, 53.8 nanoseconds on the latency, 18,006 on the write, and 21,304 on the copy. And then I listed -2 on each secondary from auto, and then T-Fall -12, and we're gonna keep going. So now we're subtracting another 2 from every secondary timing. See if this will post. And if not, we'll make some adjustments. So once again, we're at least 10% stable. Here are our benchmark results. Seems about the same as before or within margin of error. But latency does seem to have gone down very slightly. All else remaining the same for the most part. So now we're going to go into the BIOS and lower it even more. So now I brought these timings all down by another 2. So we'll see how that handles it. So as far as our results go, not all that much has changed. I don't expect read, write, and copy to change very much because those always scale with the megahertz of the RAM and not so much the tightening of the timings, although they do affect them very slightly. So it's mostly latency is what we care about for the most part. So it looks like I managed to get through one round of mem test without issue, so at least it's somewhat stable. So now I moved on to tertiary timings. I already subtracted 2 from every single one of these. Again, I suggest doing them one at a time, but since I'm very impatient, I'm just going to do them all at once and see if it passes. So these are my ADA 64 results with all the tertiaries subtracted by 2 from auto. And there's a massive jump in write and copy speed. They went up 6,000 and 8,000 respectively. And it was not just a fluke. I ran them in AIDA 64 several times because it seemed a little high to me, but apparently that's actually what it is. So I just need to verify stability now. These are the remaining scores. Read didn't seem to increase at all, but everything else did. So latency actually went up very slightly, but I think that might have just be within margin of error. And we got at least one pass out of it, so it looks stable enough to keep going. Alright, well, after a huge amount of experimentation, I basically can't really decrease the values and keep it stable. This, if I did change it at all, won't post at all. And neither this, if I lower this, it won't post. So the rest of these, I could bring all of these to 1, but it's not stable with these 3, and these remaining 3 at 1, and these don't like being changed either. So I guess that wasn't much of a optimize, but oh well. So now the last step is we're gonna set T-Refi. So now we're just gonna go full force, 65,535. I don't suggest ever running this long term, as you'll have silent corruption, but we'll see how it does. So even though having extremely high TREFI is known for a silent corruption, every once in a while MemTest will pick it up. So I'm gonna run this for a while and see how long it takes for an error to pop up, if any. And if not, then I guess we'll go straight to the benchmarking. Alright, so it's stable enough. We got 2 passes out of it. Our read speed is 29,225. Our latency is 52.2. All the scores went up very mildly since the refresh intervals so far at 65,535. And those are the comparisons real quick from auto versus 65,000. We got an extra 1,000 in read, an extra 1,000 in write, and just a couple hundred on copy, but the latency went down, albeit it didn't go down as much as I expected, but it is just 1 stick of RAM, so oh well. So here's our final results. Originally we were at 2133, 15, 15, 15, 35 at CR2 at 1.2 volts. We had a score of 16,326 read. We ended up with a score of 29,225, which is a 79% read overclock. 10,282 write, which is a 27,323 when it was overclocked, which is about a 265% increase, so more than double and a half. That's pretty impressive. Copy was stock was 12,730. We wound it up at 27,286, which was slightly over double overclock, and our latency was reduced by 52% from almost 80 nanoseconds to 52.2. I was hoping to reach the 40s, but it looks like this RAM is very temperamental with voltage. Bringing it up past 1.35, it doesn't seem to like it very much, and bringing it below, it obviously doesn't like that because that's not enough. So I guess we're stuck here, 1.35 volts. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good one.